Hello everyone, this is Ben, that guy with the French accent. We've all heard it, whether we were on social media, on forums. We've all heard these people who say, I can't find players for my game. Whatever I try, I keep showing up at the game store, I keep searching for players, and everybody wants to play the latest versions of D&D. Everybody wants to play that game. Nobody wants to play my game. Or a variation thereof. You got also these guys that always say, I just can't find players. I'm going to the store, I'm going to conventions, and I just can't find players that will fit my game. In the vast majority of cases, not all, but a vast majority of cases, this problem stems from what I call a myth of gaming only with gamers, and that's really what the problem is here. So today, I would like to take this occasion to speak about gaming with anyone, anywhere, basically, and the way one can find players and never run out of a gaming group. And that starts by debunking this idea that one has to play with gamers to have a good time with a role-playing game. Yes, gaming with gamers has some positive aspects, right? You know that they will know the game you're talking about, or at least they have some experience with role-playing games. They might already know the rules, or already have the books. They might be able to create a character that would take 2 hours in 1 hour instead. Or prepare them on their own at home and then show you the result. All that is true. And they will have a passion already, or an interest at least for the role-playing game that's being played. All that is true. But gamers come also with their downsides. And the main downside that each gamer is the fruit of his own experience in the hobby. Whether that is the games they have played in the past, the people they have played with, the experiences they've had, good and bad. And each gamer comes with its own biases. Some gamers will have an axe to grind against Dungeons and Dragons. They just can't stand the game. That was my case when I was back in France. Even though I introduced back then most of the people I ended up playing with during my teenage years, all these people just could not stand the Dungeons and Dragons. I introduced them with other role-playing games like Stormbringer to role-playing games, and they became aware of Dungeons and Dragons through magazines and other sources of the hobby in those days, and they thought that Dungeons and Dragons was devoid of role-playing. It was just, door, bash, kill the monster, just a proto role-playing game, not a real one. And that was near impossible. In fact, I never got them to play Dungeons and Dragons all together at once. So every gamer comes with his or her own biases like this, and whatever you do, you won't be able to change their mind in most cases, because gamers are known stubborn nut, and everyone has their own tastes and experiences. Obviously, when you play, so that means that instead of searching to play role-playing games with gamers by default, the healthy, in my opinion, thing to do is to search for players in all walks of life, all around you, right? Whether those are relatives, neighbors, co-workers, people you meet in associations, other parents of your kids, people in a fair or whatever, right? So newbies obviously come with their own downside. Yes, they might not know what a role-playing game is at all, beyond having watched a TV show like the Big Bang Theory or whatever. They will have to learn what the dice mean and what the basics of role-playing game as they go, but they come with an enormous advantage, is that they are a blank slate. They basically do not come with the same biases as the gamers. And the big advantage here is that you can start by socializing with people, see if you are compatible just on a personality level, then have some common interests, and they get curious, and then you can just bring about the role-playing game you've always wanted to play, that is perhaps D&D, or perhaps not D&D, and then you organize an event with others, and that doesn't take that many people, actually, and then you start playing. And you see if that's just a one-try casual, and about I would say once in a while, there will be at least one player who will be interested for more, and that's when you start building a lasting gaming group. So to get there, it takes first a change. Well, it takes several steps, which I'm going to show here. So the steps we're going to look into is step 1. Let the geek shine through. Don't hide your gaming habits. Right? Create and seize opportunities to present your hobby to other people around you. Step 2. When you find people, choose a game or setting that's appropriate to the specific people you are talking to and the audience that you're going to have. Step 3. Either starting with or continuing with the people who are interested, how to approach, advert the game, and grow the party. And step 4, on the day of the events, what to do. There's a step 5 later, that's after the event, but we're going to get there later. So, we're going to go directly to step 1. Let the geeks shine through. The idea here is that, personally, what I do is that when I present myself or the persona I adopt socially speaking, my gaming is known by pretty much anybody who hears about me. That's one of the first things that people know about me. One way to convey that, for instance, when you have social meetings at your house, you display your collection of books or your memorabilia of role-playing games, your plushies, your fake swords or real swords, whatever the case may be, right? And that will prompt people to ask. Oh, miniatures are important as well. That will prompt people to ask questions. Let's face the fact: geeks are ruling the world now. We are not in the 80s anymore. We're not in a world where we had to stay in a closet for fear that some Chad was going to mock us for being a nerd. Now we have people that are in all trends of life who are literally the leaders of the world. Whether we're talking about celebrities playing role-playing games, like Vin Diesel, people that are billionaires like Elon Musk, and the list goes on. So there's just no need to hide your passion anymore. So the first step really is to make the role-playing games a part of your public persona, right? And to let people know that you're a geek. At your workplace, you might have a little statue of Demogorgon, a plushie of an old bear, whatever the case may be, right? Your computer screen might be a fantasy thing. You might have a bucket with some dice on your desk. there are different ways to add some artwork on the walls. Well, there are different ways to show this. When you're out, you can wear a t-shirt, a geeky t-shirt. Well, all those kind of things, right? The point is to let people know that you're a gamer, and if you're participating in likewise in a community service, or you're just an average member of your community and you're participating to, say, a fair, an event at the church to raise funds, stuff like that, you can say, hey, I'm a gamer, I play tabletop role-playing games. If you guys want, I can set up a table and accept people at the table and let them explore a fantasy setting. Well, that would ask for you to run an open table, which is a type of confined sandbox setting. We're gonna get back to that in a future video. All right. So from there, as your public persona develops and people know about you, not just about your other passion, but as a geek, right? Sooner or later, people will become curious and will ask you, but what type of games are you talking about? If they don't know about role-playing games, then you approach the topic casually. It's important to be measured and to come off as a guy who's sociable, right? There are two extremes. There are the people who don't want to talk about anything, that are very defensive and guarded. These people tend to scare off people interested. And there's the other opposite, where you basically hug the conversation and act like you're desperate. Oh my god, I was just waiting for somebody to mention role-playing games. Thank you, I want players so bad. That's gonna make people flee, right? So you want to be relaxed, sociable, and say yes, I'm a gamer, yeah. And I'm into games like Dungeons and Dragons, or I like to use adventure gaming, like do Indiana Jones type of games or cyberpunk, or I'm a fan of anime. Right. You let the subject of conversation develop from there casually. It's important to not act like you're desperate, and once the subject comes and goes, like in any conversation, subjects ebb and flow and change, and then you just let it go. Once it's mentioned in a conversation, that's gonna. So you will see that sooner or later, someone will come back to you and tell you, by the way, you mentioned role-playing games. We were talking. I'm actually curious about this, or they will ask more questions, and then you can bring up the second time. Since you seem to be interested, would you like to play? We could organize, an afternoon, or that isn't. It's not complicated. You don't have to know anything. And you go from there. Some people will have some concerns as well. They will bring up the satanic panic. They will bring up the stories of the 80s, of the suicide that were linked to role-playing games, the steam tunnels and all that. Then you should take that casually. Don't become enraged. These people, these bigots, blah blah blah. Just don't do that. But rather take the subject rationally. Say, there was controversy in the past about this, but this is long ago, and these when you look into it, you will see that these facts are the facts are overwhelming in favor of role-playing games not being responsible for anything. The people who committed suicide, there was very few people. And they were very disturbed way before they met any fantasy material. And as for the satanic panic, there were some studies that were faked. There were some issues with the rigorous psychological studies that were made. The mother was hopelessly biased in the topic. Patricia Pulling from bothered about Dungeons and Dragons, BADD. So just own your facts and lay them out, calmly, and just move on from the subject as soon as you can to a more positive ground about role-playing games. And you can bring up. Meanwhile, you had these old stories. Now, role-playing games are used in classrooms to help with mathematics, with imagination, to represent problems and puzzles, solve them, and it helps a lot of people around the world. Right. So once you let the king shine through, and you have people interested, at least one, then you can start to think about what are you gonna run. Bon. Based on the first people that want to play with you, it's useful to select a role-playing game first that has rules that can be learned on the go. The characters have to be... Select a role-playing game where you can create characters very fast. And by fast, I mean half an hour. Okay? Don't take a heavy role-playing game. Don't start out right away with Pathfinder, with all options, Rollmaster, Mythos, Dangerous Journeys, like the advanced version. Don't start right away with those kind of games, because the newbies will be completely lost, right, in the weeds. So a simple role-playing game with which you can create a character relatively fast. Games that the Dungeons and Dragons TSR versions will work for that. The Cyberpunk 2020, or now the Cyberpunk Red, will work well for that. The with Western Games versions of Star Wars role-playing game would work well. Those kind of games will work well to introduce people to the hobby. These games don't have to be rules light or really bare bones. They don't. They can be hefty games, but that's the entry point where you create your first characters and learn the rules, like the simple resolution mechanic of the game and so on. That has to be able to be learned right off the bat. And then you learn the details of the rules and their intricacies from experience, from developing your character and exploring the world. And that's much more easy for a player to absorb the logic of the rules and the new logic of role-playing games that way. The themes, make sure that those are based on shared interests. That could be franchises, like if you're both fans of Doctor Who or Star Wars, or genres, if the conversation gravitates around science fiction or more than fantasy, then you can start thinking about running a Traveller game, for instance. That's another game that would work well for this. The setting, that's linked to those themes and all that, right? That's what you want at the end of the day. It's not necessarily a franchise game, from pop culture. It could be a completely made-up game by you. But what you want is to create something, or to have a base with the world that is relatable by the new player. So that's why those settings that are more or less based on the real world will help a lot newbies, right? To get their bearings. This is what you want. Even though you could have a completely unique setting, you want the players to be able to understand very quickly what the setting is about. And that shouldn't take so avoid a very, very complex or very abstract games. I'm trying to think. See, a game like Nephilim might not be the best game to start with, or Cult, or games like that. All right. A game that has a structure of gameplay will help a lot. But I mean by a structure of gameplay, I'll make another video about this. That those are the games that present a basic activity, default activity for the player characters, and around which the rules and the mechanics of the game are basically built around to serve that singular or core default activity that the player characters are supposed to do. Dungeons and Dragons, at least in its early TSR versions, is a good example of that, where the activity is the default activity is essentially go out there, explore the dungeon, explore the wilderness, gain treasure, level up. That's basically the game structure of the game. There are other games like this, right? And actually, most games will have some form of game structure, but this is more or less loose or open, right? And what you want is something that is that the players can recognize very easily and fall back to if they don't know what to do in the game. Like in James Bond 007, you can always call M or the MI6 and ask, what is my next mission? Or I'm stuck in my mission, what should I do? The structure of the mission given by M in the James Bond role-playing game is a clear structure. Same thing with Star Wars, where by default, if you look at the templates of characters and all that, at least in the Western game version, the players are assumed to more or less be part of the rebellion or gravitating around the rebellion. And then they're given missions to go to that world to get some supplies, or create a new cell of rebellion, sabotage the empire, whatever, right? Okay. So that's what I mean by structure of play here. Games that do not have structures of play, as I described them, are generally, a good example of that, those are generic role-playing games, like GURPS, like those games that propose really wide open possibilities for applications that do not have an idea, like a specific way to play to present through their use. Okay. Now, once we've chosen the game and setting, if you don't have enough players, you might want to approach and advert the game to other people and so on, right? Now, again, I approach the topic saying, with other people that might be interested. When you approach other people to grow the party a little bit, likewise, socialize with people. Let game be the subject of conversation. Don't try to hug the conversation or to be too overbearing. To advertise your gaming. Avoid or at least do not treat game stores and organized events as your default. I think that's a bad idea. And instead prefer to go to local craft stores. Put a note at the grocery store, bus stops. Put papers in the boxes of your neighbors. With a nice illustration and an advert for your game. Go to local events. Go to the market if you have a market in your area. Those kind of things. Local drinking halls, bars, local meeting points of people like this. Once again you have your public persona out there, you advertise the bit, some people start to talk about you when you're not here, about your gaming. Trust the word of mouth. It's gonna go around, and you'll see that you will be known as that D&D guy, right? And that's basically one of the ways I'm known around here. And that helps when you want to play. And of course, if you have your first people interested to play a game, right, enroll them to advertise the game as well, to talk to their friends, their relatives, their cousins. So like that, you can grow the basic pool of players that you need, and you don't need many. You need some. That depends with some people or how they're comfortable with, but even a one-on-one is enough. But for some people, at least, some people will be like, playing solo with a GM. But socially speaking, with newbies, they might be more comfortable if there are 4 or 5 people, including the game master. You don't want too many people either, because you don't want people to be like that. Then if people are introverts or not really sociable to begin with, they might, just retreat and let the others do the whole socialization, and you don't want that either, right? As a game master, you want everybody to have their limelight and to be able to participate to the imagination of the game, right? And from there, you get to the day of the event, right? It's important to organize the event as a casual meeting, as a casual event, like if you are doing a board game day or watching a football game with your pals. Yes, that includes food and drink. When you want to think of an event as a casual socializing meeting where people have some fun, food and drink are going to be involved. I don't mean necessarily alcohol. Actually, it's best to avoid alcohol in those cases. But pop, tell people to bring a dish. Each people coming brings one dish, and then you share all the dishes together. Have popcorn, the classic Mountain Dew and so on. Really, that goes with the dice and all that is physical basically in the game is actually great, especially for newbies. You will see that their imagination will try to grasp things that are miniatures. Miniatures are great for newbies to the game. That's something they can focus on, that's tangible and helps the imagination. There are many people who are visual and use their the physicality of things like that to imagine things. So do you need a session zero or not? I made another video about the session 0 specifically, right? And no, you don't need necessarily a session 0. But with some people, especially if the group is very diverse in terms of people, and you have some people you don't know that were picked up by some of the guys you recruited and so on, then yes, you really want a session 0. You really want to make clear the themes of the game, the basic table rules, and behavior, and just socialize first to get to know people, and then you can play. Speaking of which, when you start the first session, let people socialize a little bit before gaming. Have their first food and drink, catch up on what was your week like, blah blah blah. That doesn't have to last long. Half an hour is enough. But you want to let people vent a little bit before things get more or less focused on the game itself, because they are not hardcore. They are not people who they don't know that a role-playing game is a focus of attention more than a board game, right? Can be. The very important thing is whatever you end up running and whatever, bring in your A game, bring in your excitement. Love the game and be excited about it, and in your descriptions be dynamic, and what are you doing, swing this sword. your excitement for the game will be contagious. That's the main point. If you want people to get excited about role-playing games and come back, you've got to be excited and want to come back. Otherwise, you're their link to the passion of role-playing game. If you don't start by being passionate yourself about it, then they won't see what's fun about it. That's as simple as that. Once you play the game, after the event, wait for the feedback of the people, to tell you how they like the game, what they thought, if they want more. You will see people that will drop out, and not be that interested. That's entirely fine. And you will probably get a couple people that want to go on. And you can recruit more players again, or you can just run these two people through more focused adventures, just for these two characters. And that's fine too. Just keep on going, and you'll see that players are gonna come to your table sooner or later. One of your players will say, well, I talked about our game, and I have a coworker of mine who would like to try. Is that possible that she can come? And you can say, yes, absolutely, no problem. Why not? Yeah. And that's how you keep a gaming group running over the middle and long term. You invite people back on principle, and you will see some people won't come back, and some people will. And don't be pushy. Being pushy is in this case is useless. It will not help. What you want is for people to want to come back. You don't want to force them to come back. It's helpful to take constructive criticism to heart. If some people don't like some detail, I'm not sure. I love the game, but I didn't like it when it was taking so long to count the points on this, on that. The combat was taking too long. Well, take this criticism to heart and see how you could improve the gameplay later on. Speed things up, organize those things a little bit. Have some logistics help at the table and whatnot. And of course, if people compliment you and say they had a great time with this or that aspect of the game, then don't hesitate to double down on it. What they like, you want, it's like good dishes. Variety of the spice of life. You want to serve to people what they like, and you don't want to overdo it either, right? To keep people on their toes as well, so that they don't become too complacent and we're gonna have pasta again. We're gonna get the dungeon again. You don't want people to come back and be like this. Anyway, really, the core idea here. I mean, that's this idea that gamers only can play with other gamers. That's over the long term in the hobby. That's cancer. That over specializes gamers. Rules, even that affects even the games that are published, because the games become more and more complicated, more and more geared for gamers who are already gamers. And that now you have a dearth of real introduction games. And really, our hobby, not just you, but the hobby as a whole, would benefit if we all decided to break the wheel and get out there and play games with the people we already know around us, not just gamers. And you will find that, just like me, you will never run out of a gaming group. More than maybe a few months at a time, at worst. Alright? And let's just follow these steps, make it the main point is to have a welcoming, sociable, public persona that includes the gaming, and that gets the thing rolling. And those are my advice to play any game anywhere with anyone. And we'll catch up on a future subject of conversation. In the meantime, goodbye. Have a great time. Bye bye.